Imagine this. You're standing at your father's funeral, burying the man who raised you, when your girlfriend texts you. Not with condolences, but with pure, unadulterated malice. I gave your dog to a shelter. He shed too much. My world shattered in that moment. Just last week, my life completely exploded. My dad passed away after a 2-year battle with cancer. And on Friday, as I stood there, burying the man who raised me all by himself after my mom died, my girlfriend, Brittany, decided it was the perfect moment to execute her plan. At 2:17 p.m., the exact minute they were lowering my father's casket into the ground, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Brittany. It read, "Hey babe, I took Duke to the shelter on Riverside. He was shedding too much, and you know my allergies. They said he'll find a good home." I didn't respond. I couldn't. My uncle, noticing the sudden shift in my face, leaned over and asked if I was okay. I just shoved my phone into my pocket, my mind reeling, and focused on the unthinkable task of burying my father. You see, Duke isn't just a pet to me. He's my registered emotional support animal, prescribed by my psychiatrist 3 years ago after a traumatic car accident left me with severe PTSD and crippling anxiety. He's more than a dog. He's literally documented as medical equipment. And Brittany, who had lived with us for 8 months, knew all of this. She knew exactly what Duke meant to me. The moment the ceremony was over, while everyone else headed to the reception, I veered off, driving straight to the shelter. Those 45 minutes were pure, gut-wrenching panic. Duke has severe separation anxiety and struggles immensely with strangers. My heart pounded with every mile. When I arrived and explained the situation, the shelter staff looked utterly horrified. They brought Duke out immediately. He was curled up, shaking violently in the corner of a cage, refusing to eat. The instant he saw me, his whole body relaxed, and he started to cry. I'm not ashamed to admit, I cried too. Right there, in the shelter lobby, on the very day I buried my dad. The worker told me Brittany had claimed he was aggressive and that I was deployed military and had abandoned him. We almost put him on the euthanasia list for Monday, she said, her voice soft with regret. 3 more days. 3 more days, and my best friend, my medical equipment, would have been gone. Brittany had lied, branded him as aggressive, a dog literally scared of butterflies, and told them I'd abandoned him. The sheer cruelty of it was unfathomable. With Duke safe in my truck, I made a call to my buddy Anthony, a locksmith. I needed him in my apartment in an hour. You see, when it came to my apartment, I was the sole leaseholder. Brittany had moved in 8 months prior, but was never added to the official lease. At best, she was a month-to-month tenant. And here's the kicker. My lease specifically permitted and protected Duke as an emotional support animal under the Fair Housing Act. It clearly stated that attempting to remove, harm, or rehome an ESA was grounds for immediate lease violation and eviction. By 6 p.m. that Friday, just hours after my father's funeral, the locks were changed. All of Brittany's belongings were meticulously packed into boxes, and an eviction notice was taped to the door. I'd also filed a police report for theft because legally, Duke is medical equipment valued at $2,500 with all his training. And yes, the paperwork for a restraining order was already in motion. This story, as you can probably tell, only gets wilder from here. By the way, if you're finding yourself glued to every word and you want to hear more unbelievable tales like this, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button right now. It really helps the channel grow, and I've got so many more stories to share. Brittany rolled home at 11:30 p.m. after a girl's night out, drunk and giggling on the phone. That laughter died a swift, brutal death when her key wouldn't work. The next morning, Saturday, at 7 a.m. sharp, the pounding started. "Jackson, open this door right now." I opened it, the chain still latched. Duke, sensing her presence, immediately started whimpering, burying himself behind my legs. Brittany shrieked, "What the hell is wrong with you? Open the door." My voice, cold and steady, cut through her rage. "You gave away my medical equipment while I was at my father's funeral. We're done." She scoffed. "Medical equipment? It's a dog. A dirty, shedding dog." I stood my ground. "He's a registered ESA. You committed theft. Your eviction notice is on the door. Your stuff is in boxes." Take them and leave. She tried to shove past me. I slammed the door. Naturally, she called the cops. 2 officers arrived. I presented them with a stack of undeniable evidence. Duke's ESA registration, my psychiatrist's letter, my lease showing I was the sole tenant, Brittany's own text admitting to taking Duke to the shelter's intake form with her signature, and the shelter's notes detailing her blatant lies about Duke's aggression. The older cop looked utterly disgusted. He turned to Brittany. "Ma'am, you took his emotional support animal to a shelter while he was at a funeral." Brittany whined, "It's just a dog." The cop corrected her, his voice firm. "It's medical equipment under federal law. You're lucky he's not pressing charges." I stepped in, "Come as you please, oh, I am." Theft and filing a false report to the shelter about aggression. They made her leave, but Brittany was just getting warmed up. That Saturday afternoon, her mother, Diane, showed up. This was a woman who had always disliked me, convinced her daughter was dating down because I worked in IT, not finance like her precious ex-Jackson, sweetie, she began, her voice dripping with fake concern. Brittany's distraught. "She made a mistake. Can't you forgive her?" My blood ran cold. "She tried to have my dog killed while I was burying my father." Diane scoffed. "Killed? Don't be dramatic." I pulled out my phone, went to the shelter's website, and showed her Duke's intake photo, clearly labeled as aggressive with a horrific Monday euthanasia date. Diane went white. Brittany had told her she simply rehomed him. The truth hit her hard. For once, Diane had absolutely nothing to say. Sunday came, and Brittany tried a new tactic: social media. She started posting everywhere about how I chose a dog over our relationship, and how she was homeless because of an animal. My phone started blowing up with texts from mutual friends asking what the hell was going on. I posted one simple response. She gave away my prescribed emotional support animal to a kill shelter while I was at my father's funeral. The shelter was going to euthanize him Monday. She told them he was aggressive and abandoned. And then I attached every single receipt, screenshots of her text, the shelter paperwork, and Duke's ESA certification. The comments section turned into a battlefield, and fast. Even her own friends were disgusted. Monday rolled around, and I was working from home when I got a call from my landlord. "Hey, Jackson, just got a complaint you're harboring a dangerous animal." I explained everything, sent him all the documentation. There was a pause. Then, "Jesus Christ," he said, utterly stunned. "She did what at your dad's funeral?" "Yeah, no, she's gone. I'll send formal. Property ban paperwork today, and I'm so sorry about your father." But Brittany, oh no, Brittany was nowhere near done. Tuesday morning, animal control showed up at my door. We got a report of an aggressive dog at this address. Duke, the supposed menace, was literally asleep on his back, legs in the air, snoring contentedly. The officer took one look at him and burst out laughing. "That's the dangerous dog?" I showed her all the paperwork, and she just shook her head, noting it as a false report. "That's actually a crime, by the way," she added pointedly. Then, Wednesday, it was my turn to get served. Brittany was suing me for illegal eviction, for emotional distress. She wanted $10,000. I actually laughed out loud. I immediately called my cousin, who's a lawyer. "She took your ESA to a shelter during your dad's funeral," he repeated, the disbelief clear in his voice. "Send me everything. I'll handle this pro bono. This is going to be fun." Thursday arrived, and it was Brittany's court date for the criminal charges: theft of medical equipment and filing a false report. I honestly thought she'd get a slap on the wrist. I was so wrong. The judge was a veteran, and he had his own service dog resting calmly in his chambers. He was absolutely furious. "Miss Brittany Hayward," he began, his voice ice cold, "you took someone's prescribed emotional support animal, which is protected under federal law, and deliberately endangered it by filing false reports about aggression. You did this while the victim was at his father's funeral." Brittany, still delusional, tried to interrupt. "Your Honor, it's just a dog." The judge cut her off. "It is medical equipment. Would you throw away someone's wheelchair because it took up too much space?" The silence in the courtroom was deafening. Brittany was sentenced to 6 months probation, a $2,500 fine, 100 hours of community service at animal shelters, mandatory counseling, and a restraining order keeping her 500 feet away from both me and Duke. But here's where it got even better. the shelter manager testified. Turns out, Brittany had signed legal documents stating she was Duke's owner, surrendering her own animal. That, my friends, is fraud. A felony fraud charge was immediately added and is now pending. That Friday, I was at the pet store, treating Duke to all his favorite snacks. He more than deserved them after this hellish week, when I ran into Brittany's dad, Robert. "Jackson," he said, looking utterly exhausted. "I heard what happened. All of it. I just stayed quiet." He continued, "Diane didn't tell me the whole truth at first. Said you kicked Britt out over nothing. Then I saw the court records." He looked tired, defeated. "She did this at your father's funeral?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Yes," I confirmed. "Christ, I'm so sorry about your dad and what she did." Then he said something that explained so much. "She did something similar with her ex's cat. Diane, help her cover it up. I should have said something. A pattern of behavior." The weekend was eerily quiet. Too quiet. Come Monday morning, I got a call from my insurance company. "Mr. Morrison, we're calling about a claim filed against your renter's insurance for property damage. Brittany, apparently, was claiming I damaged $5,000 worth of her property when I packed it." I couldn't help but smile. Of course, I had recorded myself packing everything. 3 hours of footage, meticulously showing me carefully boxing her items, bubble wrapping her electronics, folding her clothes, even taking photos of pre-existing damage on her laptop and designer bags. Claim denied. An insurance fraud investigation was opened on her. Tuesday, things got really interesting. I received a LinkedIn message from Brittany's co-worker, Melissa. "Hey, Jackson. Weird question. Did Brittany really take your dog to a shelter during your dad's funeral?" It turned out Brittany had been spinning a whole web of lies at work, playing the victim, claiming I was abusive, that I kicked her out for no reason, and that she was traumatized. "Yes," I replied. "I have court documents if you need proof." Melissa's next message was shocking. "OMG, she's been taking donations from people here, saying she's homeless because of you." I sent Melissa the court records, the shelter paperwork, everything. By Thursday, Brittany was fired. Not for the lies directly, but because soliciting money from coworkers under false pretenses was against company policy. Someone, and I maintain it wasn't me, had forwarded everything to HR, including her pending felony fraud charge. She tried calling me 67 times from different numbers, leaving voicemails that ranged from crying apologies to screaming threats. All saved. All sent to my lawyer. Friday, the real karma started to hit. Brittany's friend Amy, who I'd always gotten along with and who was genuinely horrified by Brittany's actions, reached out. "Jackson, I thought you should know Brittany can't find an apartment. Turns out, having an eviction, criminal charges, and a restraining order makes you pretty much unrentable." To top it off, when landlords Googled her name, the first result was a local news article. Woman charged with fraud after surrendering boyfriend's emotional support dog during father's funeral. Yeah, it made the news. But here's the kicker. Remember how she told the shelter Duke was aggressive? That lie was officially documented. She was now on a citywide do not adopt list for animal shelters. When she tried to get her own emotional support animal, suddenly she believed in them. She was denied. The therapist she went to for an ESA letter looked up her history, saw the criminal charges for lying about Duke, and not only refused to write the letter, but actually reported her to the medical board for trying to manipulate the system. 3 weeks after the funeral, I finally had to face her in civil court over her ridiculous lawsuit. She showed up looking rough, unwashed hair, sweats instead of designer clothes. The confidence, the entitlement, it was all gone. My cousin, the shark, absolutely destroyed her. "Your Honor," he began. "Here we have Miss Hayward's text admitting to taking the plaintiff's registered ESA to a shelter while he was at his father's funeral. Here's the shelter intake form where she claimed to be the owner. Here's where she marked him aggressive, knowing it would lead to euthanasia. And here's the timeline, showing she did this exactly 47 minutes after the funeral started." But the judge wanted to hear from Brittany herself. "Miss Hayward," he asked, his voice heavy with disbelief, "explain to me why you felt entitled to remove someone else's medical equipment." Her answer? A pathetic, mumbled, "It shed on my clothes." The judge pressed on, "You lived there for 8 months, knowing about the dog. Why that specific day?" And then she said it. The words that chilled everyone in the room. I knew he couldn't stop me during the funeral. The judge's face. I've never seen such pure disgust. So, you deliberately waited until he was at his most vulnerable, burying his father, to dispose of his emotional support animal. Brittany stammered, I didn't think. No, the judge retorted, his voice rising. You didn't think. You didn't think about anyone but yourself. Judgment came swiftly. Her lawsuit was dismissed with prejudice. She owed me $2,500 for Duke's documented value, $3,000 for emotional distress, $5,000 in punitive damages, and all my legal fees. A grand total of $14,500. Money she absolutely did not have. But I wasn't done. Not yet. Brittany had no money. She was unemployed, living with her parents, and already facing a mountain of criminal charges. But my cousin is a shark. He explained that we could pursue wage garnishment, which would follow her for years. Every job she gets, 25% of her wages would come directly to me until the debt was paid. We filed the paperwork. She'll be paying me back for at least the next decade. The real, unexpected satisfaction, however, came from a completely different direction. Her ex-boyfriend, Thomas, reached out. You know, the one with the cat she'd gotten rid of. Hey man, heard what happened? She told me my cat ran away. Now I know the truth. He's filing charges too. Theft. His purebred Maine Coon cat was worth $3,000. Between us, she's now looking at some serious jail time. 6 weeks have passed since my dad's funeral. Duke and I are doing better. The grief still comes in waves, but Duke is always there, his head on my lap, a comforting weight when I need him most. Brittany took a plea deal, 2 years probation, $10,000 in total fines, 300 hours of community service, a ban from animal ownership for 5 years, and a felony on her permanent record. She has to report to a probation officer monthly, pay me monthly, and can't even leave the state. Every job application she fills out, she has to check yes for criminal history. Every background check will show fraud and theft. Diane, her mother, tried one last time to fix things. She showed up at my door with a $2,000 check. This is for Duke. Can we just move past this? She pleaded. I look her dead in the eye. Your daughter tried to kill my dog during my father's funeral. She tried to dismiss it. Everyone makes mistakes. I shook my head. Taking the wrong highway exit is a mistake. This was calculated cruelty. She left the check on my counter. I immediately donated every single dollar to the shelter that saved Duke's life. The last I heard, Brittany is working fast food, still living with her parents, and still telling anyone who will listen that she's the victim. But the internet, my friends, is forever. Her name is permanently linked to that infamous news headline. Woman charged with fraud after surrendering boyfriend's emotional support dog during father's funeral. Duke, on the other hand, is doing fantastic. He still sheds everywhere. He's still terrified of butterflies. And he is still, without a doubt, the best boy. We've moved into a much better apartment, using some of that settlement money for a deposit on a place with a yard, a doggy door, his own room, and more toys than he knows what to do with. My dad would have been absolutely furious about what Brittany did. He adored Duke, called him his grand pup, and in his will, he even left money specifically for Duke's care. That was the kind of man he was. Sometimes Duke and I visit Dad's grave. Duke lies peacefully on the grass while I talk to my dad, telling him all about the case, about Brittany finally getting what she deserved, about how Duke is safe and happy now. The sheer entitlement to think she could just dispose of a living creature because of some shed fur. The calculated cruelty to do it during a funeral. The astounding stupidity to document it all in writing. And then, the audacity to sue me afterward. But here's what I learned through all this. Document absolutely everything. Trust your gut instinct. Never let anyone minimize your needs or the incredible bond you have with your pet. And please, for the love of all that's good, never, ever date someone who doesn't respect your animals. Duke is snoring softly next to me as I say this. Still sheds everywhere. And I wouldn't change a single thing. To everyone who messaged support, thank you. Duke has received more treats and toys from internet strangers than I can count. He's truly living his best life. And to Brittany, if you're somehow reading this, Yes, I chose the dog. I would choose him again every single time. Enjoy probation. Oh, and one last thing. The shelter that saved Duke received over $50,000 in donations after this story went viral. They even renamed their medical ward Duke's Denver. We visit monthly, so Duke can show the scared, new dogs there that things really do get better. This whole ordeal taught me so much about human nature and the incredible bond we share with our animals. What about you? Have you ever had to choose between a toxic relationship and someone you truly love, human or animal? Let me know in the comments below. I really want to hear your thoughts and experiences.